100, a pretty massive milestone for the promotion. You're on the pay-per-view, so I guess what are the emotions now that fight week is finally here? You know, training camp's behind you, and now you just got the weight cut and then the fight left.
Yeah, obviously super excited. You know, it's a special card. I started this sport as a fan. You know, I know where I was when I watched 100, 200. So to be a part of 300 is special. And camp's been good. It was a long camp. They called me before Christmas, so it's been a while. But yeah, it feels good coming down, and it went quick actually. You know, sometimes camps can drag, but this one went pretty quick.
Do you like getting that much notice for a very specific opponent? Like, because that was what, 4 or 5 months ago?
Yeah, it's like 16 weeks. I don't know. I feel like all my fights in the UFC pretty much have been pretty short notice, so it was definitely different. And trying to taper and make sure that I was not burning myself out super quick was maybe the toughest part. But I feel like we had it dialed in pretty well, and yeah, it was nice to have some notice. I could do some different things, bring some different people in, so it was good.
And when they presented you with Bo, you know, given your background and your wrestling background, was that a name that excited you, or are you just a guy that's like, whoever they give me, I'm down to fight?
I mean, I'm definitely a guy that whoever they give me, I'm gonna fight. But I like to match up with Bo. I feel like I've said this before. I feel like catching him now is much better than catching him in 2-3 years when he has more time to kind of figure it out. Right? He's very green. He has a lot of unknowns, and it's my job to kind of see if he can answer those come Saturday.
Kind of looking at his last few fights, do you think maybe his opponents lost before they even entered the octagon, given, you know, all the eyes on them and all the media they have to do, and, you know, all the questions like, oh, how are you going to prepare for his wrestling, given that you also have a wrestling background? Maybe you don't get that question as much.
I mean, I definitely still get that question, right? But it's I don't know if they lost before they got in there, but I do feel like they were happy to be there, right? They were just happy to be there, and I definitely don't have that mindset. And I bring things to the table that his other opponents haven't. So, yeah, I can definitely kind of agree with that sentiment.
Have you had to bring in anyone specific to prepare for him, or like bringing in old college or wrestling guys to, you know, kind of mimic him? So I brought some wrestlers in. Garrett Lindberger, he's a Sadiq Yusuf's wrestling coach. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, 2-time D2 national champ. I brought him in for a couple weeks, and then Nick Maximov, who was actually my UFC debut fight, I brought him in for a few weeks. So I had some good looks, some strong wrestlers. But, you know, at Factory X, we have a lot of solid big guys, so I had a good camp all the way through. And where were you for UFC 100 and 200?
I was at my house hosting pay-per-view parties, right, with all my wrestling buddies.
And the last one for me, can I get your thoughts on the main event and the BMF fight?
So the main event's pretty cool. You know, Jamal Hill and I fought on a lot of regional shows together. We actually held the same regional belt, so I've known him for a long time. And to have 2 Michigan guys on the main card of UFC 300 is pretty special. BMF title, obviously, you know, both those guys are legends, and I'm looking forward to it. I couldn't even tell you who I think is going to win because they both are so special.
Hey, Cody, over here. Quick question. You said to him that Bo's former opponents were happy to be there, and that's not your mindset. I'm just curious, what is your mindset if that's not it?
I feel like I'm a different problem for Bo to figure out. And, you know, obviously when I say I'm not happy to be there, I'm happy to be here, right? UFC 300, huge card, great opportunity. But I'm not just happy to be here, right? I'm here to win. I feel like I can compete very well. I feel like I've obviously had my ups and downs in the UFC. I've been a little inconsistent. So that's kind of why this fight's narrative is what it is. But when I put it all together, I'm a real problem for anybody.
Cody over here. How's it going?
What's up, brother?
Nothing much. Obviously, you know, there's been a lot of sort of back and forth online. Is this personal at all for you going into the fight, some of the stuff that he said, or is it just another fight for you?
I mean, I always laugh when people say fighting's not personal, right? It's personal. You're trying to knock me out in my underwear in front of my family. It's got to be a little bit personal. But no, I don't take it too much to heart. I feel like he's a very confident guy. I feel like that's one of his superpowers is his confidence is untouchable. And so you don't know what you don't know. The guy's never been hit in the face. So it's fun. Fighting's the best thing in the world when you're running through everybody, but it's a little different when you're the nail, and he doesn't even know how he'll react to that.
And you've had to overcome a lot of adversity in your UFC career. I know it hasn't been that long. Like, how much will that pay dividends, just in the sense that, you know, you've been in bad spots. You had, you know, a situation where you might not be back with the UFC. How much are you sort of feeding off that, being like, look, I'm still here and still getting it done?
Yeah, you know, one thing that I'm happy about this fight, I feel like it's the first fight in a while that I'm not fighting for my job, right? And that's a huge pressure that people don't really talk about. And so to kind of be able to fight without that pressure is huge. And then, as my boy Dustin Jacoby always says, you got to go through it to get to it. And I've grown up in the hardest organization in the world. I've never ducked fights. I've never said no to fights. In fact, I probably stepped up when I shouldn't. And so that's kind of a reflection of why my record is what it is and where I'm at. But I do think it pays huge dividends. You know, I've been the nail, I've been the hammer, and I'm excited to show that on Saturday.
Has there been any Bo fans in your DMs? I know this does seem kind of, like there's a lot of excitement for this, obviously, and I'm sure you're getting a lot of people saying you're going to lose, you're a big favorite. Like, how have you dealt with that sort of going into the fight?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of Bo fans have been in my DMs saying I'm going to lose, and then even maybe some Cody Brundage fans have said I'm going to lose, so it's all right. But yeah, I'm just excited, man. I feel like I said, it was a great camp. I'm ready to put on a full performance. I still feel like I haven't put on a true performance that really shows my potential, and what better a spot than UFC 300.
And just last one for me, what's the vibe like in the gym right now? Brandon Royval getting that big win a few months ago. You got Jonathan Martinez now fighting Jose Aldo. Like, there's a lot of opportunities at hand for the gym, and I'm sure you're sort of feeling that going into this fight.
Yeah, Factory X is a special place. I feel like sometimes a lot of these big gyms with a lot of UFC fighters are just buildings, and then you have your own separate team in there, and you figure it out. Factory X isn't that way. Our culture is we're a family, and so yeah, a lot of excitement for everybody, a lot of excitement for my boys and my teammates. We're all pretty close, and they're all blowing me up this week, telling me to get it started, so I'm excited for it.
Cody.
What's up, brother?
Double girl dad. How is Kingsley?
Kingsley's good, man. She just turned 3, which seems crazy. I feel like I don't know. I think it's corny. Like, people always say time flies, but when you have kids, it really flies. And so yeah, she's 3. My youngest will be 1 soon. So it's been great though.
As of right now, you're the biggest underdog in UFC history. I guess, does that give you motivation?
I don't know if it gives me motivation. I think it's kind of funny. I talked to some of my teammates, like Rob Wilkinson. He's a PFL champion. I talked to Anthony Smith. I'm like, you think if I got booked to fight you tomorrow, you would be a bigger favorite than Bo Nickal? They're like, probably not. So I think, sometimes the odds are what they are, but sometimes I feel like it's just more a narrative of what people think. Because at the end of the day, Bo Nickal's never been hit. So for him to be that kind of favorite, it just seems insane to me. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but seems pretty wild. I know people think he's like the second coming of Jesus Christ in MMA, but I just don't see it.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Cody.
What's up?
So this is a massive event, 300, list of huge fighters, and you're opening the main card. What does that mean to you?
I mean, I think it's pretty cool. I know I got a lot of flack for it. I think people forget that I just work here, right? I don't make any decisions. But yeah, I'm not going to apologize for it. It wasn't up to me, and just gives me a even better opportunity to kind of make my mark.
Cool, thank you.
Yep.
Cody, Bo has 5 first-round finishes. There's not a lot to study. So in your preparation for this fight, what was the keys for focusing on you to be your best, because there's not too much to focus on Bo?
Yeah, Bo has a lot of first-round finishes. So do I. I feel like I think I have more first-round finishes than his previous opponents have combined wins in the UFC. So yeah, it was just me focusing on myself, really. As long as I show up and do what I'm capable of, I don't really need to worry about what Bo's got.
Thank you.
Yep.